that feedback?
Hello, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. My name is Noel A. Figueroa, aka The Poet, aka The Anointed Pen, and this is episode number 14 of the P.W.P sessions, that is the Poets with Purpose sessions. And I'm very excited and grateful for the opportunity to connect with another fellow poet by the name of Rescue Poetix. Her given name is Suzanne Justiniano. I hope I pronounced that correctly, but her pen name is Rescue Poetix. And I'm happy to have her return because for those of you that don't know, she graciously participated in my virtual open mic for Black History Month back in February. So it's good to have her on my podcast to get to know her better and to get to know her work better. So I'm very thankful for the opportunity. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. And now, before we get into the interview, I'm just going to share my screen to give a brief introduction of Rescue Poetix. So as I mentioned, this is episode number 14. And for those not familiar with the P.W.P sessions, that's the Poets with Purpose sessions. This is a podcast where I interview new or established authors of poetry and feature a performance of their work along with an audience Q&A session in the end. I am Noel A. Figueroa. I am a poet, author, blogger, workshop facilitator, and event host, and I am the creator of the P.W.P sessions. Now tonight's guest is Rescue Poetix, also known as Suzanne Justiniano. Suzanne Justiniano is the first Puerto Rican and woman poet laureate of Jersey City, New Jersey. And she found her performance voice in Jersey City. In 2006, Rescue Poetix emerged as a business entity designed to meet artists' business needs. In addition to being a published and performing poet, Rescue Poetix has recorded over 50 original poems to music in English and Spanish, and is deeply immersed in the arts across communities through collaborations, grant writing, event production, and actively working in a variety of capacities of several arts organizations in Jersey City, Oradell, Paterson, New Jersey, and private entities throughout New Jersey, New York, Maryland, and Connecticut. Now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I introduce tonight's guest, Rescue Poetix. Hi, Susan, good evening. How are you? Good to see you.
Rookie Zoom mistake. I was on mute.
Oh, no worries, no worries. I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yes, I sure can.
Awesome. How are you?
Good, thank you. It's absolutely a pleasure and an honor to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to have this conversation. I'm going to start off with a basic question that I've asked all my previous guests. Who is Rescue Poetix? How would you describe yourself?
I would describe myself as a person who is an advocate, as well as an activist, an actionist, I think is the word that I like to use, where an activist can speak on certain things, but an actionist is a person who actually dives in to make changes. I am a strong believer in you can't stand on the edge of anything to make any change. You have to be in the middle of it in order to really facilitate and have real change being done. So I like to be in the middle of things to get things done and moving and action oriented. I am a lover of everything art. And I'm a strong believer that as a community, we build together, we grow together. And I'm always looking for opportunities and ways to collaborate with other artists, such as yourself, and everywhere else that I come across to.
Absolutely, absolutely. Can you take me to your beginnings, as far as like what were your motivations or inspirations for wanting to write poetry?
Oh, I've been writing poetry since I was about 9 years old. I love the written word. I was a person who would read a book and have a dictionary and a notebook next to me for those words that I didn't get. And then I would write the word down in the notebook, look it up in the dictionary so that I would learn these words. That's how much I loved the written word. And I would consume, I mean, literally consume 2 or 3 books a week. And as a result of that and being inspired by everything I was reading, there were voices, but they weren't my voice, they weren't my experiences. Uh, and I wanted that, I wanted to be part of that to tell my story. And of course, when you're 9 years old, you don't know how to tell your story, right? So, it was just a matter of having journals and journals and journals filled with all kinds of written word, and some of it might have been poetry, some of it might have been essay, but it was just a matter of growing and developing that.
Right. Now, what were the first subjects that you first explored when you started out as a writer?
When I started out as a writer, the first things I think I explored was living in my community where I lived, and that was a poem that was a very long time in writing, and I performed it for the first time in Jersey City. I want to say in 2016. I'm not exactly sure of the date, but it was published, and it's called "By the Light of the Ghetto Moon," which described my experiences in Patterson, growing up as an only girl in a Puerto Rican family that was dominated by males. So I think that was one of the first things that inspired me, all the things that I experienced as a child living in one of the worst neighborhoods you can imagine in Patterson. And growing to know, being told not to have an accent, not to speak Spanish, not to honor my heritage, not to honor my ancestry, but to fit in, to be part of the facade, as it were. Speaking perfect English, speaking the proper way, sitting like a lady, and all those things. So those were my experiences that inspired writing. I guess the lack of freedom is where I found freedom in writing.
Right, right. Now, I know you mentioned in your bio that you've done music. You set your poems to music for CDs or music downloads, if I'm not mistaken. Do you have any books published at this time?
I have over 50 songs, 50 poems published to music, and you can usually find them like on Google Play or anywhere that you could get downloads. I have a Spotify playlist, also SoundCloud and Mixcloud. I've also done podcasts, music podcasts. So there'll be some of those in there as well. So you can pretty much find me anywhere. If you Google Rescue Poetix, you'll find music anywhere.
Oh, that's excellent, excellent. Now, do you have a particular preference as far as format? Do you prefer setting your poems to music as opposed to a standard book, or does it matter for you?
I wanted my music, or I wanted my story. Once I realized that I had the voice and I could tell my story, I wanted my story to be heard and internalized by people, by the masses, to understand that, if I touch one single person or one single person can relate to that story, then I did my job, as it were. I have yet to publish a book, although I do have poems that are published in a variety of different places.
Right.
I don't have a single book published. I'm working on that, though, so I intend to change that. That's one of my goals for 2021. We'll see how far I get that. Now that we're in August, yeah.
Excellent. Now, as far as what you've done up until this point, since it's not books per se, did you self-produce as far as putting your poems to music? Is this something that you did on your own? Like if you treated it as if it was self-published, is this something that you did independently?
For the majority of the songs that are out there, they are produced by record labels and actual collaborations with other artists as well as producers, music makers. There is a self-produced, in a way, it's self-produced production out there that I did with Tantra Zawadi. She's also a poet and she's based out of Brooklyn. She's an international artist as well. And she and I put together a project called Universal Woman. And that we, from nuts to bolts to soup to everything, we did everything as far as that production is concerned. We put the lyrics together. We selected our mixers, our producers. We shopped it out to labels. We did everything that you would do to publish a song. And that's one of the things we did. So there are a couple things out there, but for the majority, they are collaborations. And I'm honored to be able to work with international producers and record labels.
Excellent, excellent. And how would you describe that experience of setting your poems to music? What is that like for you?
Oh, that's other level for me. It combines two of my loves, music and poetry, where I'm a very big lyric person. I like to listen to the lyrics of a song. And I know that I can't be the only one out there. Otherwise, there wouldn't be lyrics to music, right?
Right.
So it's a matter of, I know someone out there can connect with the lyrics and it means more to them with the music. Because if they're a dancer, and the perfect example is house music. If you're a dancer and you hear a song and you hear the lyrics and the lyrics connect with you as a dancer on that dance floor, then it takes you to a whole other place. And that was the purpose of me doing that, is just to have people connect on a level that otherwise they wouldn't be able to.
Right. And how would you describe your experience writing as far as like inspirations? Like, who would you say inspired you or helped you to develop your own writing style?
I have a lot of inspirations. My inspirations come from everywhere. Things like William Shakespeare, Nina Simone, Ursula Rucker, Jill Scott, Socrates, just everyday things as well. My kids, my community, my experiences in living in different places or visiting different areas. Everything is an inspiration. Life is an inspiration. Things that make me angry, things that bother me, things that I have to work through on my own as a human being or as an artist or as a business person. All those things lead somewhere. And it's just a matter of putting those thoughts and ideals together to bring something to the table that someone else can connect to.
Right. Now, can you describe the feeling that you had when you first put your poems to music? Like, what was that feeling like when it was done? Like, for example, that first poem that you set to music, when it all came together, like, what was that feeling like for you?
It was, my first thought was, is that really me? Did I really do that? Because, you hear the music from other artists. You listen to poems from other artists to music. You hear lyrics from other people. And you don't ever think you can really accomplish that. That sense of accomplishment, that sense of, oh my God, I met this dream of mine. I've done this. It's just the most amazing feeling in the world. And then to do it over and over and over again is just incredible. It really is.
That's awesome. Are there any subjects in particular that you write about more than others, or subjects that you prefer more than others?
I have to say that I probably write more about self-actualization and self-realization as a woman. Women's voices to be heard, the experience of a woman in this world as a single mother, as a woman growing up in a household with all men, as just being a woman in this world whose voices aren't usually heard. And then, of course, being on the dance floor. I think those are my two favorite things to write about, experiencing the different emotions and the different things that you go through when you have a DJ, you connect with that DJ and the music that the DJ is playing. Um, I've written many songs about that and that what that experience means to me within that specific community.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now you hear a lot of talk about representation, in conversations everywhere. How the importance of representation. How important is it for you to make sure that you're representing your complete self through your writing? Now you're dealing with different variables. You're obviously a woman. You're a Latino woman, and you may be dealing with issues of religion. If it applies to you, you may be dealing with other female issues, ethnicity issues, cultural issues, taking all of those things into consideration. How important is it to you to make sure that you're completely representing yourself through your writing and the music?
I have to be honest that at first representation was something that I was afraid of. Because you're in the public, you're going to be judged whether you want to be or not.
Right.
But after a while, it became, what difference does it make? They're going to believe and think what they want to think, and I need to step into who I am. So when I embraced that, representation then became everything to me. I've written poems in Spanish and performed them in Spanish. I've done bilingual poetry to music. I've talked about the experiences of being a single mom, raising kids, of being a mother raised, who I was raised in Patterson and then raised my kids who are biracial, what that experience is, what it is to be that part of the life, and what it is to go through this world the way we're all going through it, one day at a time, one moment at a time, whenever possible. So at that moment, when I came to the realization that it was important for the representation, in order for people to truly connect and for me to truly connect with others, I needed to step into that. So for me, at this point in my career, in my life, it's everything.
Yes, I'm in full agreement with that because I am Puerto Rican and I'm also Black, so I am biracial, so I can identify with their biracial experience, and I am also a firm believer in making sure that representation is in the forefront because unfortunately we are still dealing with the climate of racism and inequality and cultural imbalances, and even within our own culture we're dealing with colorism and favoritism and all the isms and schisms within our own culture, and then we're dealing with the other outside influences that affect our culture. So I'm in full agreement with you that we must put representation at the forefront to make sure that we are representing ourselves the way we're supposed to be represented and not depending on someone else's interpretation of who we are, that we are firm and confident in who we are, so that way we set the standard for others to follow, to show that it does matter and they can pass on that that confidence and that pride in who they are to the generations that come behind us. So that's very important, and I'm in full agreement with that. Now with that
That's
being
right.
said, that may be a portion of what you hope to accomplish with your work, but are there any other facets or facts or any other goals that you have as far as your work is concerned? What else do you hope to accomplish with your writing?
I hope to accomplish being embedded in communities that I admire and that I respect, to learn more. I want to be able to do what I do from anywhere in the world with a laptop and Wi-Fi. I want to be able to be in Europe one day, being in Africa another day, being in the US one day, being in Asia another day. I want to be able to be everywhere. And with the advent of technology and the embracing of technology, um, through email and through Zoom and through social media, we've been able to accomplish that. We've been able to accomplish more than we give ourselves credit for as artists. So I want to be able to bring that global community to an understanding that we need to work together in order to accomplish the things we want to accomplish as artists. We need to do it together.
Absolutely, absolutely. And how do you feel how do you feel your work has been received? What has the reaction been like to your work?
just like with everything, there's been a variety of reactions. Some people don't find poetry or my poetry of value, while others find it to be of significant value to them and to their community. Um, I have lost the, what is the expression I want to use here? I have lost the need to care about what others think of my poetry. If there's an impact, I would like to know about it. You know what I mean?
Right,
But your
right,
opinion of how I present my poetry is your opinion about how I present my poetry through your perspective. So it's a given. If I let the negative get to me, then I'm going to be sitting at home doing nothing in the dark.
right,
So just keep climbing on. This one doesn't work. Let's try the next one. Let's try another one. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. So I'm all about growing and learning. And if there's constructive feedback, constructive advice that I can receive from someone who does better than me, who is better than I am, then please bring it on. I'll take it.
right,
But if it's a general negative opinion, that's what it is.
right. I agree, because there's nothing wrong with wanting acceptance. You know, we all want to have a level of acceptance, but we can't make that the forefront of why we do what we do. You know, we have to be secure in who we are and what we have to offer. And if it's received, great. And if not, that's okay too, because for every person that doesn't receive it, there's always going to be two other people that will. So
Right.
we focus our work on those that will receive it, not so much the ones that don't. And there you will find the peace in who you are and what you have to offer. Because if your work speaks for itself, you will have your audience, more or less.
That's
You know, that's
absolutely right.
guaranteed. You know, we all have our own we all have our own circle of influence to reach. We all have something to offer. So if we concentrate on being our best selves as far as writing and in our totality, then we'll draw the people that we're meant to reach. No, and I'm in full agreement with that. Your bio mentioned, a few of your accomplishments, but would you like to share with our audience any additional accomplishments that you have happened to you?
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. It's been an honor to be the first woman and the first Puerto Rican poet laureate of Jersey City.
Yes, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you for that. So that's a level of acceptance in a different way. That's a level of understanding that now I have a platform that I could do more for my community. So I'm focusing on doing that, building the community, bringing attention to the art scene in Jersey City and being involved in the art scene. I've had the honor to be on the I'm still on the board of Info Color, which is an organization that focuses on marginalized artists and getting marginalized artists paid and attention to. So that's been pretty fantastic. I'm on the board of Word Scene Inc. I'm on the vice president. And that's an organization based out of Patterson, founded by Talina Lachelle Queen, who I think is going to be on the podcast in a couple weeks, right?
Yes,
So she's going to
towards
be
the end of the month. Yes.
Right. So it's been such a thrill working with her and being part of Word Scene Inc. And now we're in the process of producing Patterson Poetry Festival for 2021, which is coming October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And through everything, it's been, let's see what else. I'm on the board, actually, on the committee of the Hudson County Community College Poetry Collective. And we've just named our first student poet laureate of Hudson County, which is quite an accomplishment. It's never been done in Hudson County, so that's pretty amazing. The other thing is I'm on the EDI committee of a couple of organizations, and getting that representation to organizations that don't typically have people of color properly represented, or think that having people of color, indigenous people, Black artists, Puerto Rican artists is an afterthought or secondary. The idea to work with these types of organizations is to get them to understand that it shouldn't be an afterthought. It shouldn't be just I'm checking the boxes for EDI, that it should be normal It should be every day. There, let's get to a point where we're not discussing it anymore. We're actually taking that action.
Right.
So it, it's work, and it's work that I love. So there's a variety of different things, and I imagine I have a few other things going on. Recently, I was featured in the Rio Grande Valley International Poetry Festival, and I've had 3 poems published. I did a workshop. I was
Oh,
also honored in 2021. Thank you. In 2021 with the Jersey City Carnival representing Puerto Rico. And so I did a workshop and I collaborated with some friends to do a morning movement healing ritual, which is the first time something like that had been done. So I like to do a lot of things, being the first to do a lot of things, because it kind of opens up what people didn't realize that they could do. So you'll see a lot more of that as the days go.
that's very excellent news. Congratulations. Congratulations. It's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful accomplishments.
Thank you.
Did you always feel like you would achieve this level of success, or was it gradual for you? Like how would you describe getting to this point, like this journey as a writer? Did you already have it in you that like, how can I say this? It's like, did you already know in your mind and in your heart that you would get this much done, or was it a surprise for you?
I am a person who has always big visions, bigger than anything than the moment.
Mhm.
I always take my visions and always expand them to the outermost that I can expand them. And I've always been like that. And I'm very persistent. And by persistent means I don't give up. I may not get it now, but I'm going to get it. I'm going to do it. One way or another, whether I do it alone or I do it with others, it's going to happen. And that's how I've lived my life. That's how I go through the different experiences. I already have the plan in place. Now it's a matter of finding the right people to execute that plan. So
Right.
it's always been little bits and pieces here and there. And I am a strong believer in building strong, not fast. So if it takes time to build something, let's take the proper time to build it.
Right,
I don't
right,
want to rush through something to have it fall apart 6 months in. Does it happen? Yes, it does. Because not everyone understands the level of commitment something may take. Some don't understand or can grasp it or aren't ready yet. And that's all good. So if it didn't work this time, we'll try it again, and we'll try it again, and we'll try it again. We'll make the necessary modifications along the way until it's
right,
accomplished.
right. Absolutely, and it makes sense because sometimes it's all about quality over quantity. You want to be known for quality work, not just throwing out anything. So that absolutely makes sense. Now, who would you collaborate with, whether they're living or deceased? If you could collaborate with anyone, who would it be and why?
Hmm.
Is there
I,
a particular poet or author that you would love to collaborate with?
there's a list so long that we'd be here 2 hours just talking about that. I would collaborate with Nina Simone. I would collaborate with Billie Holiday. I would collaborate with Nikki Giovanni. I would collaborate with Saul Williams, who is the uncle of slam, the grandfather of slam, the founder of slam, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
I would collaborate with, I've always said that I will be on the stage with, he's an artist out of the UK, and one of my favorite songs. So I'm open to any possible collaborations, and I'm always searching and researching and looking for the artists once I get to know them and something about them um, catches my attention. So that door is open. Uh, in the proper circumstance, with the proper collaboration and the proper energy, I'm not close to any possibilities. Now, of course, I'm not going to collaborate with people that I don't feel strongly with.
Right.
So there's that. There's that boundary that has to be there, as with everything. I would love to collaborate with certain artists, but sometimes once you get to know them, they're not people you want to collaborate with.
Right.
So there is
Exactly.
that.
Right. Exactly. That's totally understandable. Now, at this time, I'm going to share my screen again. Okay. Because it's time for Rescue Poetics to take the mic. Now, at this time, I'm going to give you the opportunity to share up to 5 poems. You don't have to share 5 if you don't want to, but I want to give you this time to, just give a sample of who you are as a writer to our audience. So at this time, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, great. So here we have, recently I've written some poetry and they've been published in a variety of different ways in a variety of different areas. So this particular poem is called Inheritance, and it talks about something that we talked about just a little while ago, talking about representation and what that means. So being a woman of Puerto Rican heritage, it's very important to me to connect with who I am, good, bad, or ugly, and to understand that that's my life, that's my heritage, that's my inheritance. So here we go. Inheritance is an expectation of blood that has long run thin, losing its strength through generation and generation of diluted rebellions until you don't even ask why. The pernil is cut before you put it in the mojo. While the pasteles are made the day after Thanksgiving and a marathon of papel y twine, mounds of masa y achote. Why the olives are green and fingertips blackened by the labor of love that lost its meaning long ago. Broken accents of tios and tias into the flat New Jersey Puerto Rican nasal correction from children who are taught that brown skin is a second-class punishment, but not taught to love that skin. And the pain, sacrifice, laughter, and rhythms that come with it. Passed down from mother and father, the 5 letters meaning lotus flower. Within the strength of Egyptian queens, treated as a delicate lily, a rose whose petals fall in the heat, underestimated and invisible in the weeds of males. The melanin that was once my inheritance, thinned by the blood of savages in the guise of men. Yet the thorns from the murky depths, there was always hope. The fierce determination to grow beyond the boundaries and limitations of the 5 letters expected to define me. Given to me with the ideals that my heritage would be wiped away, along with the accent that should have rightfully been mine, the hoku pernil, marinated and cooked slow and long, leaving that lingering hope of what's to come. It's taken 1 generation forward to remind 2 generations back that what's in a made-up name is but a sound, passed on through the divinity of ancestors, clamoring to be remembered in the pale skin stretched over the congas, through the guido's hollow screeches, the traditions of masa y achote deep into the night, wrapped in hojas de plátano, tied with butcher's twine, strong enough to keep the secrets in while the color bleeds out. And that's inheritance. This next piece that I'm going to perform for you is one of the pieces that I first memorized. When you're on the stage in front of a lot of people, there was an expectation for a very long time to memorize your pieces. And the first time I was on stage, I was so nervous, my hands were shaking and everything. So as I held my paper to read my poetry, that made quite an impression on me. And I don't know if it made an impression on my audience, but this is the first poem that I memorized in order to alleviate that nervousness. In the event of my untimely demise, Let it never be said that I went quietly, without love in my heart, rage on my soul, or thoughts on my mind. Instead, let me be remembered for the loves I've had, the convictions I stubbornly held on to, the lack of filter from head to lips, thoughts spewing forth without fear. You see, I'm not afraid to die. I'm not afraid to be forgotten. I am afraid of being in this life as if already dead, of not having the passion of my heart ignited or of having that fire extinguished. I'm not afraid to fly past clouds, reach beyond stars, pick blazing flowers in a meadow of midnight blue. I am afraid of tumbling from the sky, falling to the earth without possibility of being caught because there was no body in sight. I'm not afraid of pain, hardship, or sacrifice. Badges of unconditional love, giving till nothing remains, and then finding more to give. I am afraid of heartbreak, thoughtless treatment of my value and sentiment by the one who proclaims to love me forever. In the event of my untimely demise, let it never be said that I didn't speak my mind. When told to hold my tongue, struggle for release, when bound by the expectations of others, break free to be who I am. In the event of my untimely demise, let me go as I've always wanted, in the throes of passion. Thank you. That one is obituary. So the next piece that I have for you goes along that same line. This is one of the pieces that I have with music with a producer called Aquabeat, Justin Aquabeat, and we put two very different types of songs together. Not your traditional house music, more of a I want to say more of a meditative, ethereal quality. So this one is called Dreamer. They call me a dreamer. Let them see what my dreams bring. A blueprint of a future not stamped by society's approval. A rule breaking, earth shaking, far reaching arrangement that will be built and rebuilt and rebuilt and rebuilt until my last breath. I'll be that dreamer. Split between realities of nighttime freedom and daylight structure. Conjuring, manifesting, creating in my sleep. And those dreams, with the life of accomplishment at their foundation, see themselves into tangible representations, bridges, bridges designed to keep building. From them come and the strength. It brings the strength to maintain what needs to be done, what needs to be accomplished, what needs to be built, to see fruition of plans and work ready to be completed in its own good time. It doesn't end. It can't. From the dream to the reality, each plan laid in the threads of memories, triggered by premonitions of things to come. Each waking moment, an opportunity to create. Each waking moment, an opportunity to live. Each waking moment, an opportunity to create in the threads of those dreams. The things that come in the form of visions of a mind at peace, from where the undeniable takes root to turn what I believe, what you believe, what we believe into the physical. People call me a dreamer. Let them see what my dreams bring. There are those who would speak of their dreams as if an unrealistic anomaly, Speaking them doesn't give them the same life. Doing them breathes from them. Dreams need life to be moved from the air of one day to the hands of those who will mold them into seeds for growth, plant them in the eyes of other dreamers who think instead of do, who do instead of think, and to those to whom the rules of impossible don't apply. Thank you. That one is called Dreamer. So the next one that I'm going to share with you is one of the ones that I think we talk about when we talk about representation. As a mother, Puerto Rican mother, raised in the ghettos of Patterson, being poor, growing up, having biracial children, and connecting with what they experience in today's chaos has been something that really weighs on me as a mother and as an activist and as an anti-racist. So I wrote this piece because of that. How do I tell him, them, all three? How do I help them navigate a world stripped of respect and acceptance? How do I imprint on them that tolerance is sugar-coated hatred? Escalated to violence the moment perspective turns into, I felt threatened, I was afraid, I thought he had a gun. How do I separate a brotherhood of blue from the flesh and bone and the spirit behind the badge and the gun, especially when the idea of protect and serve applies only within? How do I hand them over to a society that defends lies and information and misinformation and lies and misinformation and lies over truth and common sense? How do I show them that being biracial is a double-edged enigma with tiny teeth that wound deep in the wrong hands? How do I show them that being biracial is a double-edged enigma with tiny teeth that wound deep in the wrong hands? How do I see them in their world, so very different than my own? How do I see them in their world? The bias they face daily, a ridiculous trifecta, imprisoned by ideologies that should have no weight. As a mother, these things haunt me. Added by realities staged to numb my very soul, to exhaust me, to exhaust the energy of what should be joy. As a mother, I learned long ago that my job is to educate and accept. Learn as I go. Learn to listen at the hateful rhetoric. Recognize subversive language in the guise of opinion, keeping it 100. Learn from Afro-Latina roots to separate my own beliefs from the racism of my own toxic family dynamic, pushed as protecting our heritage. As a mother, my job is to learn that statistical improbabilities born into were and are not my fate to own, nor is it theirs. How do I teach them that? See them for what they are and the struggle against that very undertow. Accept the horrors of I can't breathe, don't shoot, I'm unarmed, wrong doors, mistaken identities, no justice, no peace. And we all know that refrain. No understanding, no release. As a mother, my job is to learn that through all that insanity, the hardest things to learn and accept were that I had to let go, each of them, all three of them, into this chaos to learn for themselves. I prepared them as best I could. Their armor, my love, their armor, my acceptance, their armor, and education that was never instilled in me. Their armor, my love, their armor, my strength, their armor, my spirit. Teach them that trauma can be a weapon and a tool. Teach them and educate them using fissures as map lines, scars that remain even when memories are blocked. How do I tell them that it's going to be okay? How do I tell them that it's going to be okay? How do I tell them that it's going to be okay if I don't always believe it myself? Thank you. So the last piece that I have for you today is one of the pieces that I write about self-actualization and accepting yourself. And it's something that I think we all struggle with, we all work with, we all grow into on a daily basis. And it's something that never quite goes away. The ability to accept yourself as you are, accept your flaws as being human, accept that one thing that you wish you didn't say, or change that one place you could have possibly been somewhere else and doing something different. Accepting those things you cannot change and changing those things that you have the ability to change. Beneath this shell of bone lies not a heart, but a person. Who this is doesn't start from the outside, already exposed. Smallest thread, pulled endless, breaks seams above bone. Arguments and struggles fall away, piled on the floor, forgotten. Beliefs and fears fall next. The great debate, silent. Experience, knowledge, know-how. Bring the pile knee high, bright bones still protecting. Once that thread is pulled, what's left is me, naked in truth. Once that thread is pulled, what remains is who I am. Flesh that beats, knows but one rhythm, survival. All the pieces that make it work, real and imagined, created by me or by someone else, feed from that rhythm, give the thumping a reason for living. Pull every bit of what you think makes me who I am into an exotic, enigmatic miracle of humanity, exposed of flesh and bone, composed of flesh and bone, brought together by flesh and bone. This who I am, raw and strong, is no gimmick or pretty words. This who I am, while protected of shell of bone, beats strong, exposed from inside out. And that was exposed. Thank you. And Noel, now I turn it over to you.
Wow, wow, awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. That was Rescue Poetix, ladies and gentlemen. Very powerful poetry, very full of emotion and sincerity, and very direct with your subject matter. You really get to the heart of what you're speaking on, and I'm truly grateful for the opportunity to hear you share on this podcast. Thank you so much. Beautiful, beautiful
Thank you for
work,
having
beautiful
me.
work.
Thank you.
Now at this time, before we close, we're now going to step into the audience Q&A portion of this podcast. So if there's anyone in the audience this evening, if you have a question or a comment for Rescue Poetix, you can feel free to unmute yourself and give your question or comment at this time.
Come on, bring on the questions. I'm not shy. One thing you can never accuse me of is of being shy.
I have one actually. What do you currently have on the horizon that you plan to do, or like what events or projects do you have coming up?
There are quite a few events actually that are coming up this Saturday, this Sunday, tomorrow, as a matter of fact, August 15th. I'm going to be performing at the Jersey City Puerto Rican Heritage Arts and Culture Festival in honor of an ancestor who was an advocate here in Jersey City for the Puerto Rican community and the community at large. So I'm performing at that tomorrow. We also have Ball in the Park. It's Pride Month here in Jersey City, and I'm a big supporter of Pride. And not only an ally, my children, all three of my children are Pride children. So as the regional leader of Free Mom Hugs New Jersey, Hudson County, I'm part of the organization that is putting together Ball in the Park, which is talks, I don't know if you've seen Legendary. It's going to be like ballroom battles, as well as some performances by drag queens. So that's going to be amazing. And there's going to be a brief video, a 10-minute video by a local youth artist, youth filmmaker, talking about Stonewall and the impact that it has on the community. So that's just this weekend. So then there are a few other things happening. You can follow me on social media. I usually keep up to date on everything that's going on. And you can find me as Rescue Poetix. Rescue Poetix, Poetix, and you can find everything that's happening usually on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, as well as LinkedIn.
Okay, excellent. Thank you
so
for
look
sharing.
forward to connecting with everyone.
All right, absolutely, awesome. All right, if there's no one else that has any other questions or comments, we're going to bring this broadcast to a close, and I'm just going to share one more screen before I do so. At this time, I want to take a moment to say thank you. I want to first say thank you to my guest, Rescue Poetix, for a great conversation and excellent poetry shared. Thank you so much. Beautiful poems, very powerful, very impactful. Thank you so much for sharing your work on this podcast this evening. For those of you that wish to connect with Poets with Purpose, you can find it on Facebook through the Facebook group Poets with Purpose. I'm also on Twitter with the same name @PoetsW and there's also the YouTube channel of the same name. Stay tuned for episode 15 of the P.W.P sessions, featuring another poet and author by the name of Sonia Stuckey, who's appearing on next week, Tuesday, August 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, for more information about Poets with Purpose or the P.W.P sessions, you can reach out to me at 646-372-6230 or email me at poetswithpurpose@gmail.com. And I'd like to thank Eclipse Graphics New York. They design all of my logos and all of my flyers for all of my podcasts and open mics. If you want to check out their work, you can follow them on Instagram @Eclipse Graphics NY. You can see samples of their work and reach out to them if you choose, if you need help with your own personal projects. And lastly, if anyone wishes to make a donation to Poets with Purpose, you can make donations through PayPal, Cash App, and Zelle. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap for episode 14. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Rescue Poetix, once again for a great conversation and great poetry shared. This episode will be uploaded to the YouTube channel, as well as all of my other social media channels, I'd say within about the next hour or so. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you so much. Have a good evening and stay tuned for the next episode. Have a good night and God bless.